Namaste, IGVN Shamala Siddiqui, Faculty of Physiotherapy and Diagnostic. Today this video I will talk about estimations of the total protein. So what is estimations of the total protein? Total proteins are, it is the two types of the total proteins. Firstly, albumin and globulin. Albumin and globulins are the two types of the protein in your body. And the total proteins test measures the total amounts of the albumin and globulins in your body, and it is used a part of the routine health checkup. So it may also be used if you have unexpected weight for loss, for example fatigue and any symptoms of the kidney and liver disease. And proteins are important building blocks of the cells and tissues. So the proteins are necessary for your body's growth, for example development and health. Blood contains albumin and globulin. Albumin proteins keep fluid from the leaking out of your blood vessels, and globulin proteins play an important role in the immune system. So what are the purpose of the total protein test? A total protein test, it is completed as a part of your routine health checkup, and it is one of the tests that make up your comprehensively medical panel, and it may be a unexplained weight loss and fatigue and edema. So what is edema? Edema, it is an accumulation fluid for the tissues, for example symptoms including kidney and liver diseases. The total protein test measuring the total amount of the protein in your blood and specifically looks for the amount of the albumin and globulin. So the test uses a blood sample that's analyzed in the laboratory. For a blood sampling, healthcare provider and your clinicians will join the vein in your arm for the back of your hand. So firstly, I'll clean the site with an antiseptic wipe. So they will wrap a band around your arm to apply the pressure, and to area gently insert that needle tube the vein. So next, the blood will collecting into the tube attached to the needle, and the tube is full with the band of the needle will be removing your arm. So in infants or small children, a lancet it is used to puncture the skin and the blood collecting in a small glass pipette. And many medications can affecting the total protein test results. Medications that can affect the test results including firstly steroids, second androgens, corticosteroids, dextran, and also growth hormone, insulin and progesterone hormone. What are the risks for the total proteins? Or you may feel moderate pain and discomfort from the body. The total protein rangings are between 6 to 8.3 grams per deciliter, and this range may vary slightly among the laboratories, and these ranges are also due to other factors like age, gender, populations and testing methods. And the total protein measurements may increasing during pregnancy. If the total protein is abnormal, additionally testing must be performed to identify which specific protein is low or high. Before a diagnosis can be made, elevated total protein may indicate inflammations and infections such as viral hepatitis B and hepatitis C and HIV infections, and bone marrow disorders such as multiple myeloma and Waldenstrom's disease. And low total protein may indicate bleeding and liver disorder. Kidney disorder such as nephrotic disorder or glomerulonephritis and malnutrition, and also malabsorption conditions like celiac disease and inflammatory bowel disease. So the extensive burns, which is an inherited condition and in which the blood just not a type of a globulin, but the affecting strength of your immune system. Secondly, inflammatory conditions and low albumin is considered albumin below 3.5 gram per deciliter, but it is associated with decreased effectiveness of the medications and used for the ulcerative colitis, and low albumin level may result in complications during or after surgery. So the next is AG ratio. What is AG ratio? Normally the AG ratio is referred to as the albumin and globulin ratio is slightly higher than 1 if the ratio is too low and too high. So the additionally testing must be done to determine the causes and diagnosis. If the ratio is low, so it can suggesting your clinician autoimmune disorder and multiple myeloma, cirrhosis, and also kidney disease. A high AG ratio can indicate genetic deficiencies or leukemia. Make sure to discuss your results and your clinician. Namaste, I JVN Shamala Siddiqui, Faculty of Physiotherapy and Diagnostics. Today, this video I will talk about the histopathology part for clearing and impregnation and embedding. So, what is clearing and impregnation? The tissues after fixation and dehydration process are not sufficiently hard to cutting into thin sections without a suitable support. So the tissues are the first impregnated and then embedding in a suitable embedding medium to make a block, which makes the tissue quite hard and provide a suitable support. It can easily be cut into the thin sections of the few microns, and the impregnation and embedding of the tissues are done by using the same medium, usually, but sometimes two different mediums are used for these processes and also called as double embedding. The block may be made hardened by the cooling at 8 room temperature and also refrigerator. There are various types of the embedding medium used in the histopathology laboratory as per the properties of the tissue and the test. So what are the properties of an ideal embedding medium? And the embedding medium is considered as ideal. The following qualities are: the melting point of the embedding medium in the pure state should be below 6 to 65 degrees Celsius, and to avoid the damage to the tissues by heating during impregnation. The next part is embedding medium must be solidifying at room temperature, and also the embedding medium must penetrate the tissues, replacing the fluid in usually a clearing agent. Various types of embedding medium. Firstly, for used paraffin wax. So the paraffin wax, it is a solid at room temperature, and the melting point of the paraffin ranges from 40 to 60 degrees Celsius. For topical countries, hard wax having a melting point of 58 to 60 degrees Celsius, it is suitable. This is the most commonly used tissue embedding medium. Second is paraplast. Paraplast, it is a mixture of the purified paraffin and plastic, and it is easy to make the serial sections of 4 microns with this embedding medium due to its elasticity. The next is gelatin. Gelatin, it is a water soluble, and so dehydration and clearing is not necessary, but it is used for delicate tissues and for the frozen sections. It has low melting point. Next part is ester wax. Ester wax, it is a harder than paraffin but has a low melting point of 46 to 68 degrees Celsius, and also it is soluble in alcohol, So there is no need for the clearing step. But when using the tissue embedding medium, the next part is tissue mat. Tissue mat, it is a mixture of the paraffin and rubber and has similarly properties as that of the paraplast, and the serial sections can easily be obtained using the embedding medium. The next is water soluble waxes. So these are the polyethylene glycol and having a melting point of 38 degree 42 degree Celsius, and they cause less shrinkage, but paraffin and no dehydration and clearing is needed. So they do not make the tissues brittle and give the better support than paraffin. So they are used for the demonstrations of the lipid and enzymes. So the paraffin wax, it is a mixture of the hydrocarbon produced in the cracking of the paraffin oil. So the melting point of the high quality paraffin ranges, for example 42 degree Celsius. Paraffin wax it is the most popular embedding medium because of its properties, and a large number of the block can be prepared. It is a less amount of the time. So it also aids in the sectioning process and does not interfere with the staining process. A series of sections cut from the wax blocking adhere to each other to form a ribbon, and these sections are easier to handle than a single section. So firstly, paraffin wax is an advantage here over the tissue embedding media like nitrocellulose. And also precautions, the wax should be free from dust and impurities, and the wax must be rapidly cooled and to reduce the size of the crystals of the wax. Thank you. Namaste, I JVN Shamala Siddiqui, Faculty of Physiotherapy and Diagnostic. Today this video I'll talk about care and maintenance of the laboratory histopathology. So what is histopath and care and maintenance? Lab experiment is expensive and often fragile for the higher education research facilities with limited budgets. It is essential to keep your equipment functioning optimally for as long as possible. Well cared for the equipment provides more reliable and consistent data and has a positive impact on your laboratory productivity. So, the equipment at a higher education lab research facilities can be challenging to be maintained without the proper training. For example, hiring professionals to keep your equipment working correctly is an integral part of your facility's quality assurance. However, for everyday care and maintenance of the lab equipment and tools, there are a few things you can do yourself to keep your lab running smoothly. And extraordinary what follows in our general care and maintenance guide for the lab equipment. For example, equipment maintenance documentation. The collections of the all informations relating to each piece of the equipment in your laboratory, it is virtually important for laboratory maintenance and management. It is a centralized archive that you can refer to in order to understand your equipment's history. It is also critical to log your equipment maintenance so that you keep a regular schedule for each piece of the lab equipment, and the maintenance log should including like equipment name, model number, manufacturer and purchase data and location, warranty information, and last the type of repair performed and parts of the replaced, any test or the adjustment performance. Keep your equipment maintenance documentation as an electronic file on your computer. This enables you to collect the data such as repair costing, material and equipment efficiency to help them make better decisions about the brand and the type of the equipment. and you need for your laboratory. So, the frequently wear and tear on the equipment may also indicate a need for the staff returning. The next is cleaning. Cleaning, it is described as keeping your the laboratory equipment clean. It means that it will always be ready for use when you need it and ensure that no impurities, contamination sample and skewed data. So the laboratory equipment should be cleaned after every use, and when cleaning equipment ensure, for example, also cleaning reagents are especially formulated for use in the laboratory, and the manufacturer instructions are followed like machines are disassembled when necessary for in-depth cleaning to hurt. The next part for calibration. Calibration is an important part of the laboratory equipment maintenance and to ensure the reliable data. When calibrating your equipment, you are measuring and reading against standard units of the measurement, and also to verify the accuracy and adjustments for your machines, and calibrate your equipment regularly because the measurement biases can develop over time and generate invalid data. The next part is repair. So what is repair? Repair lab equipment is expensive and for higher education institutions with budget restriction, and it is vital to make your laboratory equipment repairing and prolong the life of your equipment, for example saving money and for your facilities, and to determine whether your equipment needs repair of the and it is machine that needs repair a source of the danger. Basically, laboratory management, it is a complicated job between the budgeting, organization, storage and meetings with various departments like cleaning and maintaining laboratory equipments.